He who builds on the people builds on mud. Machiavelli's warning to rulers echoes through centuries, and today it speaks to you in a different form. He spoke of stone fortresses crumbling under betrayal, but in this age, your true fortress is not built of walls and towers. It is built in silence. It is built when you are alone, and if you cannot stand alone, you cannot stand at all. Picture yourself at night. The world is quiet, yet your phone glows in your hand. You scroll endlessly, not because you are seeking knowledge, but because you are avoiding yourself. That moment is not harmless, it is a battlefield. The enemy is there with you. Distraction, dependency, weakness dressed as comfort. These enemies do not wear armor or carry swords, but they are just as lethal. They dissolve your will, erode your edge, and leave you defenseless when the real trials come. Machiavelli told princes not to hide behind fortresses of stone, for they only create false security, and he was right. Look at your own life. What are your fortresses? Social approval, likes, validation, constant noise. They feel safe, but they betray you when you need strength most, because when the storm comes, and it always comes, you will not be surrounded by applause, you will be surrounded by silence. And if you cannot rule yourself there, you will be crushed. Being alone is not emptiness. It is the throne room where kings are made or assassinated. It is where emperors of history sharpened their minds before marching into war. It is where warriors decided whether they would rise or fall, and it is where you decide whether you will forge steel or rot into irrelevance. Solitude with weakness. It is not exile. It is not punishment. It is the arena where predators test their fangs before the hunt. If you cannot sit with yourself without crumbling, you have already lost. But if you can master the silence, if you can turn solitude into a fortress of command, then nothing can shake you. You must declare war on distraction. You must exile dependency. You must sharpen your blade in the darkness until your spirit becomes untouchable. The enemy will always try to breach the walls, but when your fortress is within, no one can conquer you. In silence, I am sovereign. The one who becomes master of a city accustomed to freedom and does not destroy it will be destroyed by it. Machiavelli's warning was about nations, but it applies just as brutally to your own mind. If you do not take command of your thoughts, if you do not destroy the chaos within, you will be destroyed by it. Alone, in silence, your mind becomes either a throne where you rule with iron discipline, or a dungeon where you are shackled in your own chains. There is no middle ground. The crown or the chains, that is the choice you face every time you sit with yourself. If you rule your thoughts, you sit on the throne of dominion, you command focus, you direct your energy like a general,
positioning troops on a battlefield.
But if you allow every impulse, every distraction, every whisper of weakness to go unchecked, then those thoughts become your captors. You become the prisoner, chained to fear, chained to doubt, chained to desires that bleed your strength. History shows us this truth. Marcus Aurelius, the stoic emperor, held the Roman Empire together, not only through armies, but through mastering his own thoughts. He knew the battlefield within was the one that decided the fate of empires. But inside every throne room is a court of shadows. Doubts, fears, and insecurities gather like scheming courtiers, whispering treachery into your ear. You're not good enough. You'll fail. Rest, take it easy, no one is watching. These whispers are assassins dressed as advisors, and if you let them sit too close to your throne, they will orchestrate your downfall. You must become ruthless in your own mind. When the voice of weakness speaks, you do not debate with it, you execute it. A king who tolerates traitors loses his crown, and a man who entertains self-sabotage forfeits his destiny. This silent coronation does not happen in front of crowds. It happens in your private hours, when no one is watching, when you choose self-respect over self-indulgence. Think about it. The real coronation of a leader is not the public ceremony, but the unseen decision to live by command rather than comfort. In your life, it happens when you wake and decide to push through instead of hitting the snooze button. It happens when you sit down to work instead of drowning in distraction. It happens when you resist the easy escape of scrolling, gaming, or numbing yourself, and instead face your own thoughts with unflinching presence. Every small act of discipline in solitude is another jewel set into your crown, Understand this. The world will mirror the kingdom you have built within. If your mind is ruled by chaos, your life will be chaos. If your mind is ruled by order, your life will reflect that order. That is why the first throne you must seize is not out there in the world. It is the one inside your skull. Command your mind, and you command your future. Surrender your mind, and you become a servant to forces that care nothing for your survival. You must rise each day, prepared to sit upon the throne of thought. Issue orders, strike down weakness. Discipline the courtiers of your inner court. This is the daily coronation of a sovereign who bows to no enemy, not even the one within. I rule my mind, therefore I rule my life. In it is better to be impetuous than cautious, because fortune is a woman and it is necessary, if you wish to master her, to conquer her by force. Machiavelli's words strike like a blade, and nowhere are they more true than in the first hour of your morning. The moment you wake, fortune is there, waiting.
Ordinary time. It is a battlefield.
If you stumble onto it without armor, you are ambushed. If you march onto it with purpose, you seize control of the entire day. The ambush comes fast. Before you even stand up, the enemy is already upon you. The warmth of the bed whispers like a siren. The temptation to check your phone floods your brain with false urgency. The voice of laziness tells you, rest, just a few minutes more. Do not mistake these whispers for harmless thoughts. They are the first arrows fired against you. If you fall here, you have surrendered before the battle even begins. A general who loses the opening clash often loses the war. History shows us the commanders who understood this truth. Napoleon Bonaparte was known for rising before dawn, giving orders while his enemies still slept. Alexander the Great, leading campaigns across continents, would stir his men at daybreak, not to waste the early light, but to dictate destiny before the enemy even had time to prepare. These men did not see morning as rest. They saw it as a trumpet of war, a signal to move first, strike first, and dominate first. The generals who command dawn command the empire. You must see your own morning through the same lens. When you wake, you stand on the edge of battle. You must decide, are you the soldier stumbling half asleep into chaos, or the commander who sharpens his sword in silence before entering the fight? Your first hour alone is your throne room and your war camp. What you do in that sacred hour determines whether you march into the day with power or drift into it as a slave. Your sword ritual is your decisive strike. For some, it is meditation, cutting through the fog like a blade. For others, it is physical training, burning weakness from the body. It might be writing, planning, or studying, forging clarity for the hours ahead. Whatever form it takes, it must be sharp, deliberate, and executed without hesitation. That ritual is not just an act. It is a declaration of war against chaos, a pledge that you will not be ambushed today. When you win the morning, you win the day. And when you win enough days, you win the empire of your life. The pattern is simple but absolute. Hesitation in the morning breeds hesitation everywhere. Strength in the morning breeds strength everywhere. That first hour is your proving ground. Treat it like a battlefield and fortune will bow to you. Win the morning, win the war. Pledged, men should be either treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries, for heavy ones they cannot. Machiavelli's words cut to the essence of strategy. The most lethal strikes are not wild or frantic, they are delivered.
It does not roar before the hunt. It does not thrash about to show strength. It lowers its body, slows its breathing, and blends with the grass. For long minutes, it appears almost lifeless, as if asleep. But this is the most dangerous moment of all, because in stillness, the lion gathers its power. When the strike comes, it is explosive, unstoppable, final. Human beings are no different. The one who can be silent, who can remain calm while others flail, holds the concealed blade. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that rulers must learn to wait, to strike only when the enemy exposes a weakness. Rashness, he warned, leads to ruin. Great leaders through history knew the same. Fabius Maximus, the Roman general, earned the name the Delayer because he refused to fight Hannibal head-on. Instead, he starved him of resources, harassed his forces, and waited for the perfect moment. His stillness looked like cowardice to some, but it was patience sharpened into strategy. Hannibal, the most brilliant general of his time, was undone, not by fury, but by the quiet endurance of his enemy. Now turn your eyes to today. The enemy is no longer a Carthaginian army. It is noise, digital chatter, constant notifications, endless scrolling, voices pulling at your attention every second. The modern world trains you to fear stillness, to fill silence with distraction. But if you cannot be still, you cannot be powerful. Because power is not in chasing every impulse. Power is in waiting while others burn themselves out. Power is in choosing not to respond instantly, but to let silence bend others to your rhythm. Weaponize your stillness. Use it as the lion uses the grass, as the general uses the terrain, as the ruler uses time itself. When you are silent, you are not inactive. You are loading the chamber. You are watching, calculating, preparing for the decisive blow. Refuse to waste energy on meaningless reactions. Refuse to let the enemy dictate the tempo. Instead, let them exhaust themselves, let them reveal their weakness, then strike when the field is yours. Peacefully, in every argument, in every negotiation, in every internal battle, remember this truth: the one who controls silence controls the war. Stillness is not retreat. Stillness is the sharpening of steel before the kill. I turn silence into a weapon. Well, it is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose. Machiavelli was not urging cruelty for its own sake. He was warning you about the necessity of ruthlessness. To rule, whether over kingdoms or over your own life, you must be willing to cut away what weakens you. Alone, in silence, you face the brutal truth. You are carrying dead weight. Habits that corrode you, people who dread
Slaughtered by leaner, sharper forces.
Hannibal, during his march across the Alps, abandoned anything that did not serve survival. Napoleon's armies were disciplined in the same way. Ruthless with rations, ruthless with resources, ruthless with time. Victory belongs to those who strip themselves of the unnecessary. In your own life, the same principle holds. If you are unwilling to cull the weak links, whether they are behaviors, excuses, or attachments, you cannot march far. And make no mistake, distractions are not harmless companions. They are spies living inside your fortress. The endless scroll, the gossip, the mindless noise of society. They slip into your walls, gather intelligence, and report your weaknesses to the enemy. You think you are merely killing time, but time is not passive. Time is a battlefield resource. Every wasted hour is a ration handed over to your adversary. Alone, you must exile these distractions. They are not neutral. They are betrayal disguised as entertainment. Ruthlessness is clarity dressed in steel. It is not cruel, it is precision. Imagine yourself holding a sword in the throne room of your mind. Before you stand, illusions. The fantasy that you have infinite time, the belief that everyone deserves access to your energy, the comfortable lie that tomorrow is guaranteed. You cannot negotiate with illusions. You strike them down. You cut them cleanly and without hesitation. Only then does the path ahead become visible. You must be willing to be merciless with yourself. Ask, what weak link am I carrying that slows my march? What distraction has slipped into my fortress, whispering weakness into my ear? What illusion have I been protecting out of fear? Identify them and eliminate them without ceremony. A king who hesitates to cut traitors loses his crown. A man who refuses to cut weakness loses his life to mediocrity. Is heavy. Carry too much weight and you will break. Keep too many illusions and you will be blindsided when reality strikes. But the reward of elimination is power. You move faster. You see clearer. You strike harder. Solitude becomes sharper when it is not cluttered by noise, but filled only with what strengthens your rule. Grazing, I cut weakness. I sharpen power. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Machiavelli's words reveal the core truth of power. Your image is a weapon, a shield, and a throne. Alone, in the silence of solitude, you forge the mask, the face you show to the world. It is not deception for the sake of lies. It is armor. It is a strategy. Without it, you are naked on the battlefield of perception.
Marcus Aurelius understood this better than most. By day, he was emperor of Rome, ruling over legions, provinces, and politics that could crush any man. By night, alone with his thoughts, he wrote in his private journal words of pain, fear, and doubt. He confessed his struggles to himself, but never to the world.
Public, the world never saw his cracks. They saw only the mask, the stoic helm of calm authority. He ruled because he mastered the art of appearing unshaken, even when storms raged within. The solitude of his writings forged the steel of his composure. Abandonment across history learned the same law. A commander cannot show panic, even when defeat threatens. Troops do not fight for a leader who trembles. They fight for the one who stands as if unbreakable, even when the ground shakes beneath him. In war, councils, hesitation spreads like infection. That is why generals cultivate their mask in private, training themselves to endure fear, to bury hesitation, to speak with certainty when others drown in doubt. You may not lead armies, but you lead yourself. And like the general, your mask is your command. Without it, you will not be followed, respected, or trusted. Today, the battlefield is not only fields of war, it is boardrooms, screens, and chaotic cities. The world is frantic, unstable, and loud. People are drowning in fear, uncertainty, and distraction. That is why a person with an unflinching presence becomes magnetic. In a room where everyone shakes, the one who appears steady becomes the center of gravity. It is not luck, it is not charisma, it is the mask, forged in solitude, where no one sees the practice, the discipline, the private wars you wage with yourself. You must train the face you present. In solitude, learn to silence your inner chaos. Stand in the mirror until your eyes no longer betray doubt. Breathe until your voice no longer cracks. Condition your body and your mind until composure becomes second nature. The world will test you. They will provoke you. They will search for cracks in your armor. Do not give them any. The stakes are high. If you walk into the world without a mask, the predators will see your weakness and pounce. They will manipulate your emotions, provoke your anger, or feed on your uncertainty. But with the mask, you become untouchable. They cannot pierce what they cannot read. Your silence becomes intimidating. Your calm becomes power. Your presence becomes a throne. Unauthorized, it told to deny your true feelings. You are told to master them. Like Aurelius, pour your fears into solitude where no one can see. But when you face the world, wear the mask of command. It is not hypocrisy, it is leadership. Calm is my weapon. Composure is my crown. It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles. Machiavelli's reminder cuts like steel. Power is not inherited.
Cut down hesitation to slit the throat of self-pity. Every time your mind whispers, "Not today, maybe tomorrow," your assassin must move without mercy. Excuses beg for survival like cowards in the dark. You cannot negotiate with them. You execute them. The assassin is not emotional. He does not argue. He does not scream. He simply moves, swift, cold, final. That is how you must deal with weakness. The moment hesitation enters, strike. The second fear creeps in, strike. The instant self-pity rises, strikes. Do not let weakness grow roots inside you, because weakness spreads like infection, and soon it will rot your throne from within. History proves the power of the assassin's strike. Julius Caesar ruled like a god until blades flashed in the Senate. His fall reshaped Rome. Archduke Franz Ferdinand was killed in Sarajevo by a bullet that sparked a world war. Political assassins have altered the destinies of empires with one precise moment of execution. You must learn the same art. Within your mind, there are empires of doubt, whole dynasties of bad habits.
and tyrants of fear that rule over you. Your assassin exists to eliminate them with one decisive strike. But unlike the political assassin, your blade does not create chaos. It creates order. It clears the path for your strength to rule. Each time you kill a weakness inside, you expand your territory of control. Each executed excuse becomes new land under your command. Each hesitation you eliminate makes your presence sharper, more lethal, more unshakable. Look at the modern world. Everyone carries their weakness openly. They parade their self-pity on social media. They cradle their hesitation like a child, telling stories about why they can't act, why they can't move, why the world is unfair. They seek sympathy, not power. And sympathy is the death of thrones. You cannot afford to join them. You cannot afford to advertise your weakness. You must hunt it down, alone, silently, until nothing remains but discipline, steel, and execution. Do not be fooled. This is war. The enemy is not outside but inside. Every time you skip discipline, you feed the enemy. Every time you delay, you strengthen the enemy. But every time your assassin executes, you grow stronger. Discipline becomes sharper. Confidence becomes unbreakable. Presence becomes royal. Train your inner assassin in silence. Sharpen him when no one is watching. The crowd must never see the struggle. They must only see the results. Because when you step into the world with hesitation destroyed, excuses buried, and self-pity slaughtered, you become untouchable. The throne belongs to those who kill weakness first within themselves. Strike weakness. Rule yourself, fleeing. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. Machiavelli's words remind you of a brutal truth.
In the silence where no eyes watch you, a battle takes place. Inside you are two wolves. One is discipline, the other is indulgence. One hungers for growth, the other for comfort. And every day, whether you realize it or not, you are feeding one of them. This metaphor is not a fairy tale, it is ancient wisdom. The story goes that a grandfather told his grandson about two wolves locked in eternal combat within every man. The child asked, "Which wolf wins?" The answer was simple, the one you feed. That truth is unshakable. You are never neutral. Every choice, every bite of food, every piece of content you consume, every habit you entertain is meat thrown to one wolf or the other. The predator's hunger never disappears. Hunger is eternal. The question is not whether you will feed it, but what you will feed it. If you throw scraps of comfort, distraction, and self-indulgence, the wolf of weakness grows fat and strong. It will devour your discipline until you become prey in your own kingdom, ruled by laziness, dulled by pleasure, enslaved by your cravings. But if you feed the wolf of discipline, hunger transforms. It sharpens your senses, strengthens your body, and forges your will. That wolf does not beg. It hunts. It pushes you into the cold when the bed is warm. It drives you to the page when your mind wants to wander. It drags you into the war room when others are feasting on entertainment. That wolf is the one who secures the throne. Now look at the modern world. The diet of the mind is poisoned. Most people gorge their wolf of indulgence with endless scrolling, fast dopamine, empty pleasures. They feed their weakness every single hour without realizing it. Their wolf of discipline starves, becomes fragile, and dies in silence. Then they wonder why they have no power, no focus, no fire left in them. They don't understand that kings are made in solitude by what they choose to consume. You must treat your attention like a weapon. Every video you watch, every book you read, every conversation you allow into your world, it is food. The weak feed their wolf junk until it grows lazy, slow, and useless. But you must feed your wolf sharpened steel. Give it philosophy, strategy, challenge, struggle. Give it hunger that cannot be satisfied by comfort. Every time you do, the wolf of discipline grows sharper, hungrier, more ruthless. Understand this. Whichever wolf you starve does not disappear quietly. It claws, it begs, it tempts. The wolf of indulgence will whisper when you are tired, when you are weak, when you are vulnerable. It will promise relief. It will promise rest. It will disguise itself as self-care, as entertainment, as harmless fun. But every time you give in, You feed the wrong beast, and the assassin inside you grows dull. The war for your soul is not fought once, it is fought every day, every hour, every choice. The high stakes cannot be ignored. Desires ruled by appetites that will never be satisfied. If you feed discipline, you become a predator, lean, sharp, relentless. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot feed both wolves equally. One must grow and one must starve. So choose. Choose deliberately, choose ruthlessly. When you wake, when you eat, when you scroll, when you work, ask yourself, which wolf am I feeding right now? Feed discipline, starve indulgence. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Machiavelli's words cut through like steel on stone, reminding you that power is not granted, it is earned through strategy, foresight, and the ruthless discipline to play the long game. Life is a chessboard, and solitude is your war room. It is there, in the silence, away from the noise of the crowd, that you sharpen your mind to see what others cannot. Gravitational master. He does not play for the present moment, he plays for the future. While his opponent sees the next move, he sees 10. He anticipates traps, calculates sacrifices, and shapes the battlefield before a single piece has fallen. This is what solitude offers you, the ability to sit with your thoughts, to calculate without distraction, to prepare moves so far ahead that when you finally act, it feels like destiny. But chess is not won without sacrifice. The greatest victories are built on the pieces you are willing to give up. In the game, pawns are thrown forward, knights are abandoned, queens are risked, all for the greater purpose of checkmate. So it is with your life. You cannot hold everything and still hope to win. Comfort, distraction, and idle pleasures must be sacrificed if you want to command the board. Every hour wasted is a pawn you could have advanced. Every indulgence clung to is a piece you refuse to trade for progress. The mediocre cling to their comforts, but the strategist lets them go, knowing that a greater position awaits. Fittings has shown this again and again. Generals, rulers, leaders, none achieved greatness without the cold discipline to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term advantage. A commander gives up sleep to study maps. A king sacrifices popularity to secure stability. A strategist sacrifices the present moment to secure the throne of tomorrow. You must do the same. Give up what is easy so you can gain what is rare. Now look at the modern battlefield. It is not lined with knights and bishops, but with negotiations, careers, and power struggles hidden behind polite smiles and polished suits. Strategic solitude becomes your strongest weapon here. Before the deal, you sit alone and rehearse every angle. Before the interview, you map out every possible question. Before the confrontation, you calculate not just what to say, but how to say it, when to pause and when to strike. To the outside world, it looks effortless, but only because you have spent hours in the shadows, plotting every move like a chess master preparing his endgame.
Most people stumble through life reacting like pawns, pushed by forces they cannot see, captured by temptations they do not understand. But you must choose to be the player, not the piece. When you embrace solitude, you stop being moved by others and start moving others. You see the traps before they are laid. You know which sacrifices must be made. You are no longer guessing, you are orchestrating. Remember this. The board of life is unforgiving. Every careless move has a cost. Every wasted day weakens your position. If you do not play strategically, you will be played. The throne belongs to the one who thinks farthest ahead, who sacrifices what others cling to, who masters the silence of the war room before stepping onto the battlefield. So withdraw, retreat into silence, study the board, sacrifice what weakens you, then return to the world like a grandmaster, moving pieces with precision while others scramble in confusion. Plan in silence, strike like thunder, minimized where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. Machiavelli's words strike like a hammer on the anvil, and you must understand, willpower is not something you are born with. It is something you forge. Like steel in the fire, your will begins soft, fragile, easily bent by comfort and distraction. But solitude is the furnace, and your daily rituals are the hammer blows that harden you into something unbreakable. Picture the blacksmith at work. He thrusts raw metal into the flames, pulls it out glowing, and strikes it again and again.
Each strike gives the steel shape. Each pass through fire makes it stronger, sharper, more enduring. That is exactly what solitude does to you. The silence is your fire. The repetition of ritual is your hammer. And over time, what was once fragile becomes unyielding. History shows this truth. The samurai lived by ritual, sharpening not only their swords but their spirits through hours of solitary practice, meditation, and discipline. To them, routine was not dull repetition, it was the sacred path to mastery. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, wrote in solitude each dawn, forging mental armor against the chaos of the empire they ruled. Monks retreated into silence, fasting and meditating, breaking the chains of desire so their minds could stand unshaken against the storms of the world. Their rituals were not for show. They were the fire that made them steel. And you, in the modern world, must find your own forge. The battlefield has changed, but the principle has not. Cold showers that jolt your nervous system into discipline. Meditation that sharpens your focus like a blade. Fasting that teaches you to command your body instead of obeying its cravings. These
decays in idleness. The spirit weakens in indulgence. But with ritual, your will becomes a weapon that others cannot break. In negotiations, you are the one who holds steady while others crumble. In hardship, you are the one who endures while others surrender. In temptation, you are the one who refuses while others yield. This is not natural talent. It is forged strength, beaten into you by the hammer of ritual. But you must be ruthless in this practice. The blacksmith cannot strike half-heartedly. The steel only hardens under relentless blows. So too must you commit fully. If you meditate, do it every day. If you fast, do it with precision. If you choose the cold shower, embrace the shock as the price of command. Each repetition is not just action, it is transformation. The ritual is not about the act itself, but about who you become through it. Imagine two men. One drifts through life, chasing comfort, never testing himself, never facing the fire. The other retreats into solitude, builds his daily rituals and returns hardened, sharpened, and unbreakable. Which one takes the throne? Which one commands respect? Which one stands undefeated when the world tests his strength? Do not wait for the world to forge you in its fire. Forge yourself. Choose your rituals. Strike daily. Endure the heat. Welcome the hammer. Discipline is fire. Ritual is the hammer. Will is steel. Safeguard, the best fortress is to be found in the love of the people. For what fortress is strong enough if it is hated? Machiavelli's warning was clear. No walls, no armies, no castles can protect a man who is weak in spirit. The true fortress is not stone, it is not iron. It is the unseizable strength within you. When you build this inner citadel, no enemy can breach it, no betrayal can shatter it, and no manipulation can take hold of you. In the Landian Sea, architude is the architect. Alone you discover how to command yourself without relying on others. Alone you confront your fears until they bend to your will. And alone, you learn to walk through life carrying power that no thief can steal. The world is filled with men who chain themselves to approval, to possessions, to the opinions of the crowd. Their fortresses look mighty, but they crumble at the first siege. The man of solitude, however, carries his fortress inside him. You cannot besiege what you cannot touch. Fishing ink of the predator in the wild. He stalks alone, unseen, unpredictable. No one can read his movements because he answers with no leash. That is what solitude makes of you, a hunter without patterns, a strategist who cannot be predicted. When you depend on others for your strength, you move in predictable rhythms, you dance to their strings. But when you master solitude, you move freely, and freedom is the greatest terror to those who wish to control you. History shows it again and again. Princes who trusted their fortresses lost them to betrayal within. Rulers who relied on allies were crushed by legions.
The weight of their dependence. Yet the Stoics, men like Epictetus who owned nothing but their minds, could not be conquered even in chains. They carried fortresses stronger than walls because no tyrant could command their thoughts. Now bring this into the modern world. You see men paralyzed because their paycheck owns them, their emotions betray them, or their relationships cage them.
They cannot walk away, cannot stand tall, cannot act freely, because they have built their identity on sand. But the man forged in solitude learns independence at every level. Financial independence gives him the power to walk away from any master. Mental independence frees him from the propaganda of the crowd. Emotional independence makes him untouchable to manipulation. For no bribe, no guilt, no threat can steer his course. This is how you become untouchable. Not by hiding behind walls, but by being unmovable in spirit. The man who has trained in solitude can lose wealth without losing composure. He can face betrayal without losing balance. He can be attacked, criticized, even abandoned, and still stand unshaken, because he knows what few dare to learn. That power rooted in others can be seized, but power rooted in solitude cannot be touched. Do not mistake this for isolation. The untouchable man can walk among crowds, form alliances, even inspire loyalty, but he does not need them to survive. He chooses them because he wants to, not because he must. And that is the greatest power of all. To be desired, but not dependent. To be respected, but not desperate. To be alone, yet never lonely. Your task is clear. Withdraw into solitude. Train your will. Cut the strings that tie you to false security. Build the kind of independence that terrifies those who wish to control you. Be the predator without patterns. Be the fortress without walls.
It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Machiavelli understood the truth most men never grasp. Power is not given by crowns, thrones, or armies. It is forged in silence, in the hidden wars no one sees. Before you can command an empire, you must first command yourself. Before you can rule nations, you must first rule the battlefield within. Messi Manu even 6 had when you can do that's where the
Campaigns, imagining the moves of enemies before they breathed. His victories were born in silence, not on the battlefield. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of Rome, held the largest empire in the world, yet wrote to himself in the quiet of dawn, disciplining his own mind before commanding legions. Genghis Khan, a man who united scattered tribes into a force that bent continents, endured betrayal, exile, and hunger in solitude before his enemies even knew his name. Each emperor ruled others only because he first ruled himself. Their solitude was not weakness, it was the crucible that made them unbreakable. Now understand, the final war is not against men, not against rivals, not even against kingdoms. The final war is against yourself, against your doubts, your cravings, your fears, your addictions. Every man who falls here first. He loses the internal war long before the external war crushes him. You cannot deceive yourself and still hope to deceive an enemy. You cannot command legions if you cannot command your own impulses. The greatest empires collapse not when armies breach the gates, but when the rulers rot from within. Look at today's world and you will see proof everywhere. Men enslaved by distraction, paralyzed by comfort, conquered by their own appetites. Their kingdoms are digital illusions, their thrones nothing but rented approval from strangers online. They think they are free, but they bow to the invisible empire of weakness. This is the battlefield of the modern age. The war is fought not with swords, but with willpower, not with armies, but with discipline. And the price is the same as it has always been: mastery of yourself, which no man, no government, no system can strip away. Become emperor in silence. When you rise at dawn and your body begs for sleep, you win the war by standing tall. When your mind craves distraction, you cut it down like an enemy at your gates. When fear whispers that you are not ready, you answer with action. Every day in solitude is a campaign, every hour a skirmish, every decision a battle. Win them and you ascend, lose them and you are a prisoner in your own empire. But when you win, when you sharpen your will like Napoleon, discipline your mind like Marcus, and endure like Genghis, you become something untouchable. You no longer react to the world. you bend it. You no longer chase power. Power bends to you. You no longer sit on the throne of appearances. You ascend to the throne of reality, where no enemy can dethrone you, because you have already dethroned the greatest enemy of all, your weaker self. Position. This your destiny. To command yourself so ruthlessly that no external war can shake you. To rule your inner empires, revenge for slight injuries. For heavy ones, they cannot. Those were Machiavelli's words. And hidden in them is the same truth about solitude. The world will always try to wound you with noise, with distraction, with shallow voices pulling at your focus. But if you sit upon the throne of silence, none of their blades can reach you. Loneliness is exile. Solitude is coronation. When you choose to be alone with discipline and strength, you are not cast out, you are crowned. Think of it this way. Loneliness is when you wait for someone to hand you value, when your sense of worth depends on another's presence. But solitude? Solitude is when you decide your throne is already built, and you are the ruler who does not need applause to validate the crown. The exile begs at the gates of others, but the sovereign builds his own citadel and commands the world from within it. One path makes you needy, the other makes you untouchable. In the modern world, solitude is power. Every time you put your phone down and step away from the endless noise of opinions, you tighten your grip on the scepter. Every time you choose to think for yourself instead of drowning in the herd, you sharpen your blade. When you decline an invitation that serves no purpose, when you choose to work late into the night rather than be lost in shallow distraction, you seize the throne. You build an empire brick by brick, not from the chatter of the crowd, but from the iron of your own focus. Look at history. The greatest emperors, philosophers, and generals all had moments where silence was their sharpest weapon. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations in solitude, training his mind to remain sovereign no matter what storms surrounded him. Napoleon spent long nights alone, sketching battle plans, creating the moves that would shock entire kingdoms. Genghis Khan rode across the steppes, but before the conquest, there was always the solitary vision of a man who believed the world could bend to his will. None of them were lonely. They were sovereign. And now, it is your turn. You do not need to beg the world to see you. You do not need to cry out to be validated. When you choose silence, you are already enthroned. Solitude is the training ground where you forge yourself into steel. It is where you prepare the speeches, where you design the blueprints, where you sharpen the sword. Alone, you are dangerous. Alone, you are sovereign. The crowd fears silence because it exposes their weakness, but you will learn to crave it. To sit in silence and feel no fear is to hold the throne the masses cannot touch. And when you emerge from it, you will speak fewer words, but each one will land like a decree. You will take fewer steps, but each will echo like the march of an army. Now hear this. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is the throne room. When you sit in silence, you are not abandoned. You are crowned. Every moment you choose it,
Yourself, and in doing so, you become untouchable.
say it with me. Not as a whisper, but as the mantra of your sovereignty. In silence, I am sovereign.